Good morning and welcome to our um, Christ-centered foundational yoga class. And thanks for being flexible this morning. I thought we were going to be outside, and then I looked at the temperature and went, oh my goodness, it's very cold. So thanks for being flexible at the last minute. Um, we're going to start on our back today. So if you want to create a little bolster for yourself, if you have a bolster, great, it's going to go behind the knees. If you don't have a bolster, we're going to take our blocks end to end across the mat. And if you don't have blocks, just roll up a towel or a blanket or grab some pillows from your house, whatever you have available. But if you do have blocks, we're going to lay that blanket over it just to create a little bit of height. And then we'll take a blanket for underneath the head and curl up the bottom edge of that to just create some support for the back of the neck. So go ahead and come on your back, draping your legs over our little bolster or whatever you have. Lowering down, just making sure as much of your spine is contacting the earth as possible. And if you're healing in your back and this is still uncomfortable, you can get rid of anything behind the knees and just bring the feet to the floor, allowing the knees to point upward, and that will take some of the pressure off of the low back. And then we'll turn the palms upward, just allowing the shoulders to begin to release open. Take a moment to just scan your body this Monday morning, noticing any physical sensations in your body. So just scanning the field of your attention, like you're searching out those sensations, and then just give them a descriptive word without it being good or bad or without any story behind it. Just notice. Maybe it feels pinchy or tight or dense, or maybe it feels spacious or strong or open. Just kind of notice, and you'll have different sensations in different parts of the body. And then begin to notice what's going on with your breathing this morning. So again, not trying to change anything, just observing what shows up. Is your breathing shallow or deep? Is there a rhythm to your breath, or is it a little erratic? Is it fast or slow? And also notice where the breath is located. Is it higher in the chest or lower down into the rib cage and belly? And then we're going to begin with the reset breath. And so reset breathing helps us to improve our oxygenation of the blood, and it helps us to actually improve the volume of our breath. So we're going to just take a normal inhale here, filling into the lungs completely as much as you can. Roll that right into the exhale, breathing all of the breath out, out, out. Squeeze every drop out. And when you get to the bottom of the breath, hold at the bottom of the breath for as long as you can until you feel the need to inhale well up. And then when you do, take a big full inhale. Ride that to the top of the breath. Take that right back down into the exhale, going slowly, but exhaling completely. And then pausing at the bottom of that exhale for as long as you're able. And then take a big full inhale and keep repeating this for a few more cycles. You may notice that that emphasis on the exhale results in a much fuller, bigger inhale. We can only be filled as much as we're willing to be emptied. And so this is our opportunity to not just empty our lungs to be filled with this beautiful breath, life force, or spirit or soul, which is what ruach, the breath of life, means. But it also provides us an opportunity to receive whatever it is that God has for us as we empty ourselves. And so we are in the throes of change. We are in the throes of change in the weather. We are in the throes of change as we navigate this COVID journey. We are in the throes of change politically. And it really got me thinking about the fact that there truly is a time and a season for everything. It brought me to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I'm going to read the full section of scripture because I think it's really important. Pay attention to the words. It says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." It goes on to say in verses 11 through 13, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in their toil. This is the gift of God." I think it's important that we remember that there are times and seasons for all of these things. And wherever you are on the spectrum, as I was reading those words, to remember that God has made everything beautiful in its time, that we cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. We cannot see the whole picture. And King Solomon says that I've found that there's nothing better that we can do then but to be happy and to do good, to find satisfaction in our toil and our work. These are gifts from God. Take a moment and just kind of allow that to land. This is one of the books of wisdom in the Bible. It lists 14 opposites, common element in Hebrew poetry, indicating completion. Each time and each season may seem random, but the underlying significance in this poem denotes a divinely chosen purpose for everything we experience in our lives. It also reminds us in a comforting way of God's sovereignty over all of it. It centers on God's ultimate authority in heaven and on earth, and that our lives may contain a mixture of joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, harmony and struggle, life and death. But each season has its appropriate time in the cycle of life. Nothing stays the same. Change is a constant. And as God's children, we must learn to accept and adjust to the ebb and flow of God's design. Some seasons are difficult, and we may not understand what God is doing. But in those times, we must humbly submit to the Lord's plans and trust that He is working out His good purposes. On the next inhale, gently sweep the arms up overhead, and you can begin to point and flex the feet. So maybe the heels are now lifting off the ground as you kind of create a little bit of movement. Maybe you even start to circle out your wrists and your ankles, or form your hands into little fists and then open them back up again. Maybe a little of both. There's a lot going on there then. It's good challenge for the mind. On the next exhale, let's go ahead and gather that right knee in toward our chest. Just interlacing either below the knee or behind the knee, and we're going to start to circle out the knee. So if you're stirring up a pot, maybe since it's chilly, it's nice warm soup. We'll go in the other direction, starting to restore range of motion in that hip, starting to wake things up, clearing out some of those fascial adhesions that kind of show up overnight. Movement is medicine, motion is lotion. We're lubricating that joint. Good. And then we'll go ahead and interlace the fingers behind the thigh and take that heel high. And then we'll circle out the foot here. The speed of our circles represents and reflects the speed of our mind. So can we slow it down a little bit? Let's be present to what God is doing. Instead of resisting, or instead of running ahead, can we just be in the moment? Be sensitive, alert, aware. What are you up to? Get curious with that. God, what are you up to? Good. Flex that foot. And then we're going to draw that leg a little closer now, stretching into the hamstring. And then we're going to bend the knee. You can point the foot if you like. And then flex the foot. Inhale, lift the leg. This helps to release a fascial chain that runs along the whole backside of the body, literally from your heel all the way to the top of your head. So we're going to do this a few times, beginning to really open the back body here. Nice. Then float the heel, release the hands. And we're going to gently begin to lower that leg. Take your time, go really, really slow. Hug the muscle to the bone, draw the navel in toward your spine, tightening up the entire circumference of your core, protecting that low back. And then exhale, release that down. Maybe kind of shake the body a little bit, just kind of shake it up. And then just take a breath in stillness. Notice the difference between the two legs. Beautiful. Go ahead and bend into the knee. And left knee, sorry. We're going to bring that leg in. And we're going to start making circles with that leg. Good. Stirring the pot. God's always stirring the pot. Never know what he's up to. And we'll take it in the other direction. The scripture really points to the fact that change is that only constant in life. We are constantly navigating through these seasons, these changes that are mentioned in this section of scripture. Good. Release that, and we'll interlace behind the hamstring. Take that heel high, and we'll begin to circle out the foot. Nice and slow. You might notice a little crunching or a little popping, just things reorganizing internally. And we'll take it in the other direction. So can we reorganize internally to adjust to whatever the circumstances are around us in our lives? Can we reorganize? Point the toe, bend the knee. We're going to lower that leg. Bend the knee, I'm sorry, flex the foot, and then lift the heel. We're not lowering the whole leg, just the lower part of our leg. Good. And so we're just bending that knee and flexing the foot and straightening the leg. Maybe you draw that thigh a little closer as you do this. Just getting a little deeper stretch, but only to where it feels good for your body. Find that Goldilocks stretch, that it's not too much, it's not too little, it's just right. But remember that in order to adapt, in order to grow, we have to challenge ourselves a little bit, and change challenges us, takes us into new horizons, it stretches us. Good, we'll flex that foot, release the hands, and slowly micro move that leg. So hug the muscle to the bone. Again, keep that core nice and tight, protect that low back. Hover above the mat, wherever you feel you want to hang out for a moment, keeping that foot floating. And then exhale, release that. Good. Shake it out a little bit. And then just rest for a moment, noticing the difference already in the way the body feels. So as we go through our yoga class, we're going through little phases and changes. We go through this opening meditation, a warm up, an active phase, a cool down, and then a final meditation. And in each of those phases, the body is changing. It's adapting. It's rising up to the demands that are placed upon it. And so even this yoga class is a mini experience of these changes and these seasons that we go through. We're going to go ahead and bend our knees. Let's move that bolster out of the way. Good. And then if you have something under the head, you may want to move it. It just kind of depends on how it's going to feel on your neck. But we do want the natural curve in the neck preserved, but we don't want the head lifting. So be mindful of that. And then we're going to press into our feet. So I want you to start by lifting the balls of the feet and just pressing into the heels. And then very slowly, we're going to start to lower the foot down, starting from the heel, moving toward the ball of the foot. Spread those toes wide and then plant them down. Good. So now you feel really grounded here. We're going to press our navel down into our spine to flatten the back. Now you'll notice those legs begin to engage. You'll also notice a strengthening happening in the core as well. Good. We want to take our thumbs to the bottom of our rib cage and take our pinkies to the top of our hip bones. On the inhale, I want you to stretch the space between those two places. So inhale and really lift the rib cage, but keep the hips down. Now on the exhale, draw that navel to the spine, squeeze into the core, but try not to let those two places come back together. So keep it wide. Inhale, stretching. So it's called decompressive breathing. Exhale, draw the navel into your spine, squeeze the breath out, but don't let those two places come back together. So keep the ribs lifted. Good. Couple more like this, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Beautiful. Keep that core engaged. So keep that space between the lower ribs and the hips. And we're going to slowly begin to elevate the legs up. Good. You can bring the hands down, palms facing up, and kind of slide those shoulder blades toward each other. You may choose to interlace your hands underneath, or you can make this more restorative and just slide a block under the hips, underneath the sacrum, not under the low back, but under that hard triangular shaped bone at the base of your spine. Take a couple breaths here, opening the front of the body, opening the chest. Beautiful. On the exhale, let's release, slowly lower down, one vertebrae at a time until that seat lands back down. Then toe heel the feet to the edges of the mat. Take the arms to the sides like wings, and then we're just going to tick-tock those knees side to side. And so just going from side to side here, breathe. Link your breath and your movement. So we're inhaling on the way up, exhaling as we lower to each side. A breath synchronization really helps promote a calming in the mind, in the body, and the nervous system. Allow both legs to go over to the left now. And you can always adjust your leg. So if you need to bring that right knee more over toward the left, feel free. Or if you want to go deeper and rest that left foot on top of your right knee or thigh, feel free to do that. Any other adjustments you need to make. We're going to soften into that right shoulder. Gaze over your right hand. Breathe. Twists are great. They're detoxifying and cleansing for the body. They help wring out our internal organs of digestion, elimination. They also help to wring out the lungs so that we can bring in fresh blood, fresh nutrients, fresh oxygen where our body needs it. But they also give us a shift in perspective. And sometimes we need to look at our circumstances a little differently, a little more positively, a little more hopefully. That's what it means to have faith, to trust in God's plan and purpose. We're going to float that left foot down if it's on the leg, and then we'll bring the knees up. Let's take them over to the other side. Good. Once again, you can adjust the legs, and you may need to adjust differently on each side. It just kind of depends on what's going on in your body today. Soften the left shoulder toward the mat, maybe gaze over your left hand and breathe. Imagine that you're exhaling out negativity, resistance, doubt, fear. Just make room for faith in God's plan, God's purposes. Good. Go ahead and bring those knees back up. And then we're going to roll over to the left side. Just pause for a moment in a fetal position. In Colossians chapter 1, verse 16, it says this, and this is important. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. Breathe that in for a moment. We're going to slowly make our way up, finding a kneeling position. So we'll take our blanket under the knees if you need some additional support here. And then just have a couple blocks handy, maybe near the front of your mat. We'll come to those a little bit later. We're going to stand on the knees for just a moment, tuck those toes under, and then bring your upper body up so that we're kind of in like a kneeling mountain pose. Ears stack over shoulders, shoulders over the hips, palms facing forward. Draw the shoulder blades back and down. And then at the same time, kind of slide your armpits down toward your hips. So we're keeping that back nice and broad, as well as our heart. Good. On the inhale, reach those arms up. You may choose a little bit of a back bend here. Engage the legs, press those hips forward slightly as you lift the heart. Maybe broaden or widen your arms a little. Nice. On the exhale, take those arms wide. We're going to round the spine, bring the hands down toward the feet, and barely touch our head down. Inhale, sweeping all the way back up. And then exhale, bring your hands to your heart. So we're just starting to warm up our spine here. Inhale, sweep, arms lift. Exhale, swan dive, round the spine, barely touch the top of the head to the mat. Inhale, sweep all the way up. Exhale, bring hands to heart. Good. Another time. Inhale, sweep. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, lift. And exhale, hands back to heart center. Good. Take your hands to your hips and we're going to step our left foot forward. Good. So walk that foot forward. Maybe you tuck the toes, maybe the top of that back foot is to the floor, whatever works for you. You can bring hands to blocks here if you like, but we want a nice wide stance. So I don't want that right knee right underneath your hip. We need to kind of bring those hips forward. So now it's behind and we have a big stretch into that front side of the right hip and into the hip flexors. Good. Make sure you're not on a tightrope, but we're going to take a couple breaths here. Check in if you're rounding or hunching. See if you can press down into those hands. Draw the shoulders away from those ears, but keep the back broad. Good. Keep breathing. And we're just going to warm up these hips a little bit. So on the exhale, let's take it back, straightening into that front leg, fold over the leg a little. That knee may still be bent, or you may choose to bring the toes up, your choice. Exhaling, coming forward. Nice. We're going to tuck the back toes and lift that back knee if you'd like to. You could always keep that knee down if you need to. And then we're going to start to float onto the fingertips a little here. And then begin to sweep the arms back. So they're like swept wings in this humble warrior. There's a degree of humility we need to hold on to and recognize that God is God. He's in control. He never lets go of the wheel. Good. On the inhale, let's sweep coming all the way up. Take a bend in that back knee. Begin to stack your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. But notice if you're kind of blasting out through the belly, lift that belly in, up, and back. And then come into cactus arms here. Open into the heart. Check if those shoulders are lifting. Soften the shoulders down. Keep breathing. Maybe your gaze goes high. Beautiful. On the inhale, reach those arms up. We're going to hinge forward and sweep them back. Coming back into that humble warrior. And we're going to flow this a couple times. Again, you can always keep that right knee on the ground and just do everything from there. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, fold forward, arms sweep back. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale up. Exhale, sweep. Good. Last time, inhaling up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold forward. Beautiful. We're going to float the hands down, but bring the hands to the inside of that left leg. Good. Toe heel that back foot back a little further. So you really feel a big stretch here. And then we're going to float the right knee back down. If it's available, we'll lower down onto those forearms, onto the blocks. If you have more flexibility, you might be able to come all the way to the floor. But you can adjust the height of your blocks too to make it fit your body. So you could be higher up on the ends, you could be on the sides, or you can be on the lowest level with the blocks flat. Good. Now allow that left knee to come out to the left, coming onto the outer edge of that left foot. Flex your toes. Protect that ankle. Big stretch into that hip. Nice job. Slowly bring that foot back to the floor. Bring the hands back up. And then we'll go ahead and take our left foot back behind us. Hands underneath those shoulders as we kind of tic-tac that heel. Keep breathing. Nice job. We'll take that foot over to the right, coming on the edge of that foot. You could also be on the ball of the foot, just depending on what feels better for your body. But we're gonna hug that right shoulder toward that right hip. Oh, breathe here. Proverbs 19:21 reminds us, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. Slowly unravel that. Maybe wiggle those hips side to side a moment. Take those knees wide and begin to settle your hips back into a child's pose. Now, if you're healing in your knees, you can take a blanket behind the knees. You can stack those hips. You can also keep the hips lifted and just bring the hands underneath the forehead, stacking the hands, or even a block. So go with what feels best for your body. Just allowing the breath to come into the back body. We have more lung tissue in the backs of our lungs. So we have this tendency to kind of cling to that which we like or want or desire and oppose or push away that which we do not want or like. And that's always true when it comes to change, right? We might be trying to hang on to the past, or we might be pushing the past away, or we might be doing the same thing with what is to come. In Richard Rohr's book, Just This, I want to read just a little excerpt of what he says. He says, if I had told my novice master in 1961 that I wasn't going to fight my distractions, he would have said, you're going to entertain lustful or hateful thoughts. But what would have largely missed the point. The real learning curve happens when you could admit you're having a thought or a feeling and see that it's empty, passing, and a part of your own fantasy world that has no final reality except as a lesson. Listen honestly to yourself. Listen to whatever thought or feeling arises. Listen long enough to ask, why am I thinking this? What is this saying about me that I need to entertain this negative, accusatory, or lustful thought? You don't have to hate yourself or condemn yourself for a thought or feeling, but you do have to let it yield its wisdom. Then you will see it is the wounded or needy part of you that wants these unhealthy thoughts. The whole you, your true self, does not need them and will not identify with them. If you can allow your thoughts and feelings to pass through, you're neither clinging to them nor opposing them. And without ever expecting perfect success, I promise you will come to a deeper, wider, and wiser place. Believe it or not, even your inability to fully succeed is in itself another wonderful lesson. I love that. Let your feelings pass through you, neither clinging to them nor opposing them. We're going to slowly come up, stand on those knees for just a moment, and then we'll step the right foot forward. I'm just going to turn so that you guys can still see me and I can see you. All right. And make sure you toe heel that left foot back so that that knee is back from your left hip. You might need to toe heel the right foot to the right a little so you're not on a tightrope. And then we're going to just allow the hips to come forward a little bit, but make sure you're not dumping into those shoulders. Keep the shoulders away from those ears. Lots of breath here. Feel that nice stretch into the front side of your left hip. On your exhale, let's take those hips back. Just a stretch now into that hamstring. And then just rock back and forth a couple times, feeling into this. Nice. As you come forward, tuck the back toes if you'd like, and pick up that back leg. I'm going to get a little more active in our shapes here, only if that feels okay for your body. And then begin to get a little buoyant. We're going to sweep those arms back, palms facing down, shoulders away from those ears. Lots of breath. Humble warrior. Inhale, sweep, coming through, arms up, stacking ears over shoulders, shoulders over the hips, tightening into that core. And then cactus arms here, open the heart. Maybe your gaze goes high, shoulders down, away from those ears. Good, we're gonna flow here. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, forward fold, sweeping back. Inhale, sweeping up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, sweep back. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale up. And then exhale, floating down, arms out. Bring those hands back to the blocks, and let's bring the blocks to the inside of that foot. Float that left knee down. And again, you can adjust the height of your blocks as needed. If it's available, we'll come down onto the forearms. Just make sure you're not rounding and hunching. We want that heart melting, crown moving forward. Shoulders away from the ears. Breathe. Good. We're going to slowly begin to come up. Then we'll take that foot behind us. Hands are going to stack right underneath those shoulders, and then you can kind of wag that heel side to side. Nice. Sweep that foot around over to the right side, coming on the edge of the foot or the ball of the foot, and then we'll slowly bring our left shoulder toward that left hip, squeeze it out. Jeremiah 29:11 is such a powerful reminder, and it's not just a promise, it's a prophecy of what is to come. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So, whatever changes we might be going through, we must be reminded and hold fast to this truth. God has plans for each and every one of us to prosper us, to give us a hope and a future. Slowly unravel. Let's take those knees wide and come back to child's pose for just a moment. Again, adjust as you need to accommodate your body wherever you're at this morning. We have to notice where we have maybe some doubt or fear, and we need to alchemize that into faith and trust and belief in God and His plan. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding of things. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. Good. We're going to slowly come up onto all fours. Stack those knees right underneath your hips. Now, I want to give you an option. You may want to have a blanket in front of you to catch your head. And we're going to do thread the needle, but this is really nice to catch the side of the head. So we'll start with that left hand grounding. Take the right arm out to the side like a wing, stretch and reach that right hand high. Good. And let's bring some movement to this arm. We get really tight in our neck and shoulders, our jaw and our hips when we're stressed. This has been a very stressful season, a very long, stressful season for all of us. Come back up and over the other way a couple times. Good. Reach that arm up, stretch, stretch, stretch. And then we're going to thread the needle. So it's going to come all the way through over to the left, coming onto that left cheek and ear. And you can use that blanket if you like. Left hand can be on the floor at about a 90-degree angle on that elbow, or you can reach the left hand forward if that feels good to stretch into the shoulder and armpit a little more. You can always reach that left hand high if you like, or even wrap it around the small of your back. And just breathe here. A big stretch into the lungs. The lungs, according to traditional Chinese medicine, are an area where we hold grief and sadness and loss. We're stretching that lung tissue, just allowing God to minister to us. Because with change, there's always loss. There's loss of what was, sometimes loss of expectations of how we wanted things to be. We just have to let go, surrender to God's plans, be present. What are you up to now? Great question to ask with curiosity and willingness, openness and acceptance. Good. Bring that left hand down. We're going to slowly sweep back up. Just see how much more space you have. Oh, that feels good. We're going to repeat that on the other side. So plant that right hand. Take the left arm out and then sweep it up. Big circles here. Good. Take it in the other direction. Find that full range of motion. Good. Reach up, get long, long, long. Thread it through behind that right arm. Take it all the way over to the right, coming down onto that left ear and cheek. Again, decide what you'd like to do with that right arm. Maybe you press into the floor. Maybe you walk it forward. Maybe you stretch it up or around the back. Breathe here. Nice job. Slowly bring it back towards you. Plant that right hand. Stretch and reach. Lengthen. And then just gently float that hand back down. Good. This is a great opportunity for a child's pose, or maybe you want a down dog. So if you're into down dog right now, walk those hands, forward about a handprint, tuck the toes, press your chest back toward your thighs, start pushing the mat forward with your hands, and then engage the core. We'll begin to lift those hips up and back, and you can kind of pedal out your dog here. Chest is pressing toward the thighs, the weight's moving out of the hands and wrists towards the heels. Nice flat back here. As we advance in our practice, down dog becomes a rest pose, but in the beginning, or just depending on where we're at, it doesn't always feel like a rest pose, right? It feels pretty active. Good job. Go ahead and bend those knees. We're going to lower the knees. And then inhale, lift the hips, lift the heels, and then float the heels down. Good. Inhale, lift the knees and the heels. Exhale, bending, kind of sink for a moment. Inhale, lift the hips, lift the heels. Exhale, lower the heels. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, lift the heels. Exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, lift the heels. And exhale, float the heels. Good. We're going to slowly just lower those knees back down. See how we're doing here. Yeah. Bring those heels around, and then we'll slowly bring our back down, our seat down first, and then our back. So you can move that blanket out of the way if you had one under the knees. Maybe create another neck roll if you want to. All right. Gently draw the knees into your chest, rocking here side to side. So we did this beautiful thoracic twist, which really helps to kind of wring out the lungs, the lung tissue. We're also gonna do a nice little low back twist. So let's keep the right knee in, send the left leg to the floor. Extend it long. Good. Just a couple of breaths here as you settle in. We want that left thigh relaxing on the mat. Take a hold of your knee with your left hand. Let's take the right arm out to the side like a wing and gently guide that knee across the body, taking a twist. So we're compressing into that right hip capsule, but we're also compressing into our ascending colon. We always start on the right and end on the left because that's the direction of peristalsis and digestion. So we're just assisting our digestion. And sometimes we have to digest our circumstances, our emotions, a lot of things, right? And then we can eliminate what is superfluous, what's no longer needed. It's no longer beneficial. Beautiful. Slowly unravel. Bringing both knees in. Let's switch sides. Right knee out, right leg out. Hugging that left knee in just for a moment. Softening the leg toward the mat, the right leg. Take a hold of the left knee with your right hand. Let's take that left arm out to the side and gently begin to guide your knee, over to the right. Soften into your left shoulder. Breathe here. 70% of our toxins leave the body through the breath. Toxic thoughts, toxic energies, toxic emotions, toxic beliefs even. Sometimes we forget who God is, that he's in charge, that he's in control, that he's still sovereign, that he is still King of Kings, Lord of Lords over all we know and see. Let's not forget. Beautiful. Slowly begin to unravel. Draw those knees to your chest one more time, maybe rock a couple times, or just kind of realigning the spine after those nice twists. Good. And then come into a big, beautiful full body stretch. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Let's stretch a little bit more through the right side. So point the right toes away, reach the right hand away, or maybe you flex the foot and press the heel away. There's a bigger active stretch into the right side. Good. Exhale, release that. Let's switch sides. Stretching into the left side. Good. Exhale, release that. And then slowly let those feet splay open. Float the hands down alongside your hips, turning the palms open with the shoulders away from those ears. Soften the belly, soften the entire body. As you come into your final rest, I want to share with you a poem that I really love from the book One Soul by Dana Falls. It says, "Celebrate the journey. Who knows why life unfolds the way it does? Why we choose one path or another, share the way for a while or a day, and then say goodbye. There's no predictability here, and less control than we might wish. But there is a quiet urging of the heart, the knowing in the soul, the wisdom that's beneath the mind, accessible if we breathe and turn inside. When the tide of change rolls in, we can resist or be at peace, struggle or release. The stuff of life may not be ours to understand. It's enough to offer love, to receive the best and worst, to embrace and say farewell. What matters most is to celebrate each moment of the journey." Slowly begin to awaken the body, just coming back to this present moment, noticing and feeling your body, all the points of your body touching the floor. Perhaps you feel more relaxed now and you're breathing a little more easily than when we started. Just notice that. Notice those shifts, those changes. As you're ready, begin to gather your knees toward your chest and give yourself a loving hug of gratitude, appreciation. Gently rock here from side to side, just taking your time. Gently roll to whichever side seems intuitively right. Pausing for a moment. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart, yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know there is nothing better for people than to be happy and do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil, for this is a gift of God. Begin to bring yourself up to a seated position, taking your time. Bring the hands together in prayer at heart center, where we're joining opposites to heal all opposites. Bow your head to your heart. Dear Heavenly Father, we cannot begin to understand your purpose and your plans, but we do know and we have experienced these changes in our lives, these seasons that we navigate through. Father, let us hold fast to the promise that you are working all things for good. You make everything beautiful in its time. That even though we cannot begin to fathom or understand what you are doing or what you have done from beginning to end, we can be happy and do good. We can enjoy the provision that you've given to us, find satisfaction in the work that you've called us to do, the work of our hands, and that we just can remain in that space of trust and wonder and awe of what it is you're up to, knowing that you are a good God, that you are in control. Lord, we love you and we thank you. We lift this all up in your mighty and powerful name. Amen.